Hi there teachers, and welcome to this webinar, Hybrid Learning, a New Model for the Future of Learning. I'm Troy Waller, a Microsoft Learning Delivery Specialist. This session is designed to introduce you to the hybrid learning model, a mix of face-to-face and online platforms to intentionally create a learner-centered experience that's personalised, relevant and engaging. Over the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to unpack the hybrid model and show you how it focuses on authentic, relevant learning that provides students with voice, choice and agency. It incorporates peer tutoring, student self-assessment and collaboration among teachers and students to design and carry out the learning experience. If you're in the live webinar today, you're going to get a chance to chat in the Q&A window, but not if you're watching the recording on YouTube, of course. In addition to chatting within our call, please feel free to share what you learn in our session on Twitter. If you do so, please be sure to include us in your tweets. We're there at MSAUEDU and also at Hojusara. In our session today, we're going to discuss the future of education, that is hybrid learning. I'm going to start with an overview of the variety of remote and hybrid learning models. I'm then going to discuss the 5 elements of hybrid learning, and finally, we'll explore each element and the best practices of each. Let's get started with a quick check-in on what you currently think of when you hear the phrase hybrid learning. Based on your current thoughts about it, how would you describe hybrid learning to a parent? If you described it in 1 or 2 sentences, what would you say? So if you're in the live event right now, go ahead and type your explanation in the Q&A window. I've highlighted it there on the screen. We're going to give you a few minutes to post and read what others say as well. And if you're watching the recording right now, pause the video and think about how you might answer this question. Thanks everyone for sharing. It's great to read your explanations and learn what your current view is of hybrid learning. So while hybrid learning's been a part of the education system for many years, for a lot of institutions, this model was fast-tracked due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And as schools examined the best ways to reconvene on campus, many educational models arose, including partial opening. So this is where schools allowed only specific students to return to campus. So groups eligible for return to campus included children of essential service employees, students with special needs, and students who didn't necessarily have access to connected devices at home. Then we had the synchronous and separated. So this is where educational institutions conducted face-to-face and online instruction at the same time. So some students are in person while others are joining the same class remotely. And then the last one was what's called rotational. So that's where schools rotated the students in an on and off campus model throughout the week. Students attended classes on campus on specific days while their peers worked remotely, asynchronously on the same days, and then on other days attendance flipped and students replaced one another. So a hybrid learning environment is a mix of all these models. A hybrid approach to learning builds on the success of these models to intentionally create a learner-centered experience that's profoundly personalised, relevant, and engaging. In other words, hybrid learning is not a quick fix for educational institutions. Instead, it's a student-centered approach that combines the best of in-school and remote learning with digital engagements to enhance and accelerate learning to meet diverse learners' needs. So in short, it's an integrated online instruction with face-to-face class activities in a planned, pedagogically valuable manner. Educational systems moving to a hybrid learning environment will need to focus on specific elements to ensure their students and instructors have what they need to be successful. The 5 elements of hybrid learning are: number 1, the learning environment. So optimizing both the physical and virtual learning space for your students. Number 2 is class community, fostering relationships with students to encourage connection and camaraderie. Number 3 is lesson design, evaluating core concepts in the curriculum, determining what's most essential and designing instructional methods, materials and assessments that can be personalised to meet each individual student's needs. Number 4 is engagement and interactivity. So that's creating synchronous and asynchronous experiences that utilise a variety of strategies to ensure students are engaged and are active participants. And then lastly, number 5 is assessment and feedback. Designing formative and summative assessments that continually evaluate understanding and provide feedback to promote student growth. Okay, so let's check. Now that you've heard the 5 elements of hybrid learning, I'd love to hear your thoughts on which element you are most excited about developing for your hybrid learning environment. So, in the chat window, I want you to enter the number that corresponds to the element that you are most interested in exploring, and then I want you to share why. So we're going to give you a few minutes to post and read what others say, and if you're watching the recording right now, pause the video and think about how you might answer. To create a student-centered hybrid learning environment, schools must create physical and virtual learning spaces that are conducive to dynamic interactions with students who are both present and remote. So educators are comfortable in their physical learning environment. We know that. We've worked to optimise our space, foster communication and collaboration, and promote an efficient workflow. When shifting to hybrid learning, you must decide how you will create a similar workflow and learning space in a virtual realm. So in a hybrid learning model, educators can present their course bi-modally in order to accommodate students where they are in the classroom together or where they are working from home or even somewhere else. Additionally, educators must establish policies and procedures for their virtual environment. So how will students ask questions and how will they get the teacher's attention? How will the teacher gauge participation? During collaborative workflow, how will educators break students into groups and get students' attentions? Instructors must determine how they can modify their current in-person learning procedures to work in a virtual space. So Microsoft Teams can be the digital hub for your hybrid learning environment. Core in-person experiences can be translated online with some of these Teams features. Let's have a look at them. Microsoft Teams can be the digital hub for your hybrid learning environments. Posts, files, class notebooks, assignments and grades can all be incorporated to create a workflow that's similar to the one in your classroom. Teachers can create a structure for their virtual learning space with channels. Channels can be organised by week, topic or assignment. You can see them there on the screen. Educators can create private channels for students to collaborate on projects. And additionally, instructors can create virtual learning centres with channels and direct learners to specific channels for meetings, questions or socialising. Instructors can share read-only content and resources in the class materials folder in the Files tab. Students and instructors can collaborate on Word, PowerPoint and Excel files shared in the Files tab, and they can offer comments with the file, and each file has a chat feature to allow for conversations about that individual file. So let's take the next 4 minutes and think about other ways that you can create a bi-modal learning environment for your students. I want you to consider the questions on the slide as you reflect on your virtual learning environment. So if you're watching the recording right now, pause the video and think about how you might answer. Once you've created your virtual learning environment, you'll need to explore how you can build a sense of community with students who don't necessarily see each other in person. You want to find creative ways to connect with one another online and help students see you and others authentically so they feel connected and safe to share their thoughts and needs. So building a sense of community among students is crucial for every classroom or course section. In a hybrid model, educators can create community through a variety of experiences. Students need to feel connected to one another and to their teacher. Teachers must find a way to bridge the physical distance that separates participants by creating a class community. Teachers need to be thoughtful regarding how they foster relationships with students to encourage connections and camaraderie. Educators must consider how they will create a welcoming virtual learning space for students and how they will establish their teacher presence within that space. Students need to see their instructors as real people. When educators are authentic, students feel connected and safe to share their thoughts and needs. Students connect best with the teachers who are not afraid to show their own personalities. So a key part of building a strong virtual community is helping students learn how to communicate and collaborate with peers online. According to the Resilience and Transformation for the Future of Learning research, students must be comfortable with online communication and collaboration to be successful. Students and instructors can interact with one another through the Post tab in Teams that you can see there. Educators can pose discussion questions for students to participate in throughout the week, and students can ask questions about content or assignments. Classmates can socialise and share ideas. You can also use charts to check in on students' social and emotional needs with the Reflect extension inside Teams. And we also have the School Day app, which is available inside Teams too. So I want you to take the next few minutes and think of ways you can foster connection with and among your students. I want you to consider the questions on the slide as you reflect on your virtual learning environment. If you're watching the recording right now, pause the video and think about how you might answer. Next thing I want to talk about is lesson design. So when transitioning to a hybrid learning environment, instructors must evaluate their content and curriculum to determine what is most essential for students to learn. Many schools have found that less is more when looking at what content needs to be delivered synchronously and how it needs to be delivered. Two instructional strategies that can help you streamline your content as well as meet the needs of individual learners are backward design and universal design for learning. Both complement each other nicely and encourage you to focus on the core concepts of your course and how you and your students can represent these concepts in multiple ways. When streamlining the focus of their course, teachers can simplify by considering the enduring understanding students need to have at the end of the course. Once instructors establish the enduring understandings, they can use backward design principles to plan their course and lessons with the end in mind. Once educators have their final destination in mind, they can create the final assessment for the unit that will measure if students successfully reach the learning goals. Instructors can then think critically about what students need along the way to reach that end goal. So what will need to be covered in each lesson? What readings and videos need to be shared? What practice activities, assignments, discussions will need to be completed? The backward design process creates a richer learning experience for students and guarantees that every activity, lesson and discussion teachers plan supports the enduring understandings. Another design approach that can benefit hybrid learning models is Universal Design for Learning, or UDL. The UDL framework guides instructors on the design of instructional goals, assessments, methods and materials that can be personalised to meet individual students' needs. So when using the UDL framework, you consider 3 principles to design your course so that they provide multiple means of representation, action and expression, and engagement. You can find out more about UDL at www.cast.org. Students and instructors can join a Teams call for class meetings. Students can then use the raise hand feature or the chat window to ask questions, share insights, or answer the teacher's questions. Teachers can use share screen to use the whiteboard feature to offer visuals or support their content delivery. Teachers can also upload their instructional videos and demonstrations in a stream channel and then add that channel as a tab inside Teams. OneNote Class Notebook is a digital 3-ring binder for a course. Instructors can share read-only content and resources in the content library. Educators can also create workspaces for students to complete assignments, and students can collaborate on projects or share resources with one another in the collaboration space of the notebook. Students also have an individual workspace where they can take notes, document learning, and complete assignments. And Brain Research is a wonderful guide when planning content for delivery. For synchronous learning, Brain Research indicates that instructors must do something emotionally relevant every 10 minutes to keep their students' attention. So break up your live sessions with pauses at designated times where students do something with the content you're discussing. For asynchronous learning, research reports that the optimal length of instructional videos is about 6 minutes. So creating mini lessons or inserting questions via forms is a wonderful way to break up online instruction. And finally, be sure to utilise a variety of methods to communicate with your students. Written, audio and video communications will improve everyone's understanding. Student engagement and interactivity is another element of hybrid learning, and instructors must consider how to keep students engaged synchronously and asynchronously. Teachers can prepare for their bimodal connections by asking themselves, what are the core experiences of in-person learning and interaction that need to be translated to an online model? And then educators need to invest in the live lecture experience to ensure that it's just as personal for the student joining remotely as it is for students in the physical classroom. Instructors must work to ensure that all learners are active participants in the course rather than mere consumers. So instructors can utilise a variety of strategies to ensure that all students are active participants. Number 1, break students into small groups to solve problems, discuss concepts or debate topics. Number 2, provide students with hands-on activities that allow them to practice or visualise concepts. Be sure to use everyday items that students have in their homes so they feel they can participate in the activity. Number 3, give students time to process and practice concepts individually. Be mindful about finding times within a class meeting to have students reflect on what they're hearing and practice what you're demonstrating. Teachers, you also need to examine coursework demands to ensure that students do not experience the 2 extremes of workloads, undue stress from tasks that are too challenging or boredom from tasks that are not challenging enough. Both situations cause students to disengage. Instructors therefore must consider the students' ZPD or zone of proximal development to create a more accurate estimate and then monitor the students' workloads. With the Add tab feature, instructors can include a variety of tools and interactions that encourage participation, including Flipgrid, Wakelet, Kahoot, Pear Deck and Nearpod. And in the Post tab, instructors can use the Forms bot or Polly feature to create quick polls that keep students engaged. Teachers can insert messages within a Forms practice quiz to provide feedback as the student completes the quiz. And if the student answers incorrectly, the feedback feature in Forms can direct the student to a specific page or video that helps them find the answer to the question. If the student answers correctly, the feedback can send the student to a resource with additional information to challenge them further. Creating notes within the quiz allows instructors to be virtual tutors for their students as they practice concepts. You can also organise small group discussions and collaborations with Teams breakout rooms. And students can not only access lessons and resources in the content library and then store their research ideas and drafts in the collaboration space or student spaces. So let's pause again for a couple of minutes and think about how you could make one of your units of learning more engaging and interactive. How could you transform the content into a real-world problem with an authentic task? And what would that task be? So if you're watching the recording right now, pause the video and think about how you might answer. Student growth is the focus of education. Evaluating student growth is conducted with formative and summative assessments. Formative assessments occur throughout the unit and evaluate student progress. They don't have to be graded, and students rely on feedback from these assignments to learn how they can improve and grow in the content. Summative assessments occur at the end of the unit. They are graded and usually final. The goal of formative assessment is to gauge student progress throughout a unit of study. Formative assessments help students and instructors understand which concepts in which students need more practice to reach mastery. Because it's an additional workload for the instructor to monitor understanding during a unit of learning, formative assessment doesn't have to be graded for accuracy. When students understand that these assessments are not graded for accuracy, they are more free to try and to fail until they reach a true understanding of the material. With formative assessment, students rely on feedback so they learn how to improve. Formative assessments encourage growth mindset and develop skills that students will be able to use throughout school and into the workforce. Some examples of formative assessments might be completing practice problems in OneNote, or completing a poll or a practice quiz or an entry and exit ticket in Forms. Summarising understanding of a video lesson or a live lesson in OneNote, or completing a graphic organiser using the Whiteboard app. Summative assessments are typically at the end of a unit and they measure students' mastery of the content. While formative assessment is not graded for accuracy and relies on instructor feedback, summative assessment is graded and, as I said before, usually final. Objective tests and essays are traditional summative assessments. Instructors can also utilise other assessment strategies to measure students' growth. Instructors can distribute and collect assignments with the Assignments tab. They can attach a OneNote page for students to complete a link or other files, and then students can turn in the assignments through the Assignments tab. Once turned in, instructors can review the work and offer feedback. They can either allow students to revise the work based on feedback or finalise and return the grade. Instructors can connect a forms quiz to instructional videos. They can also create assignments with a forms entrance or exit ticket or a forms quiz. Additionally, teachers can collect information from students, even parents and guardians, through forms surveys, which can be added as a tab or shared in the conversation in the Post tab inside Teams. Once finalised, instructors return graded assignments and quizzes. Students can only see their grades in the Grades tab, but instructors can review an individual grade or the class performance on an assignment or quiz. With the Insights tab, instructors can review real-time data regarding students' interactions in assigned discussions, participation in meetings, and completion of assignments. So as we transition to this hybrid model, we can reimagine education and build a learning environment that incorporates all of the dimensions of a quality learning experience. So as you look at your own hybrid learning plans, how do you think you will reimagine learning with a hybrid model? There are many ways to get started on your hybrid learning journey. So I'm going to leave you with one action, and that would be to encourage you to develop your own idea about which learning experience you can transform into a real-world problem with an authentic task. If you're interested in a course that would help you on your journey, I recommend that the accompanying MEC course, the Introduction to Hybrid Learning, and the link is there. And finally, be sure to share what you've learned today with the Twitter handle @MSAUEDU. Now, if you want to find out more about Microsoft Teams for Education and how it can support your move to hybrid learning, then visit support.office.com/education for some really good resources. I also have a YouTube channel for teachers. You can visit aka.ms/TroyYT and check it out. And don't forget to click subscribe to be notified of the new offerings. That's me on Twitter, LinkedIn and Facebook, and you'll know it's me because it's that little avatar which is there in the bottom right hand. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.